The night my daughter turned against me, I never imagined I would see her face the next morning. But I invited her to breakfast anyway. She arrived smiling, believing I had finally come to apologize. Then she looked across the café, and her smile disappeared. Because the person waiting for us was the one person she never expected to see. My name is Richard Hale, and for 32 years, my daughter Sophia was the most important person in my life. After her mother passed away, Sophia became my entire world. I worked extra hours, skipped vacations, and spent years making sure she never felt the emptiness I was carrying inside. But people change. Sophia married Ethan, a charming man who always seemed polite whenever I was around. Slowly, however, I noticed something different. Whenever Sophia needed money, she called me. Whenever Ethan needed help with a business problem, they called me. But whenever I needed my daughter, she was suddenly too busy. One evening, I finally confronted her. I told her I couldn't keep paying their bills and pretending everything was fine. Sophia became furious. She said I had become selfish. I reminded her of everything I had sacrificed for her. The argument became emotional, and Sophia crossed a line that broke my heart. I didn't fight back. I simply looked at my daughter and said, I can forgive anger, Sophia, but I can never forget disrespect. The next morning, I sent her one message. Breakfast, 9 a.m. the Blue Willow Cafe. I think we should talk. She agreed. When she arrived, she walked toward my table with a confident smile. She sat down and said, So, you finally realized you were wrong. I didn't answer immediately. Instead, I pointed toward the chair across from us. Sophia turned and froze. Sitting there was Margaret Collins, the accountant who had handled my family's finances for more than 20 years. Sophia's face suddenly changed. Margaret placed a folder on the table. Richard asked me to review several financial records, she said calmly. Sophia looked at me. Dad, what's this? I opened the folder. For months, money had been disappearing from an investment account I had created for Sophia's future. I had initially believed it was a mistake, but Margaret had discovered something much worse. The money wasn't being taken by a bank. It had been transferred into an account connected to Ethan's business. Sophia stared at the documents in disbelief. Then Margaret showed her the signatures. Sophia's eyes filled with tears. She whispered, Ethan told me you were helping us. I quietly replied, I was helping you. I never agreed to finance someone who was lying to you. For the first time, Sophia understood why I had invited her to breakfast. I wasn't there to apologize. I was there to protect her. I had already frozen the remaining funds, contacted the bank, and started the legal process to recover what had been taken. Sophia covered her face. Then she looked at me and began crying. Dad, why didn't you tell me? I answered, because I wanted you to see the truth yourself. If I had simply accused your husband, you might have chosen him over me. She reached across the table. I pulled my hand back, not because I hated her, because forgiveness doesn't mean pretending nothing happened. I told her, Sophia, I don't want revenge. I want you to stop confusing love with allowing people to use you. That afternoon, Sophia went home and confronted Ethan. Within days, their marriage began falling apart, and eventually, the truth came out. Ethan had been manipulating Sophia for years, but the biggest twist came months later. Sophia returned to my house carrying a small box. Inside was an old photograph of her mother and me. She placed it on the table and said, Dad, I finally understand what you were trying to protect. I looked at my daughter. She was no longer the angry woman who had walked into that cafe. She was the little girl I had once carried home from school. I hugged her, and I realized something. The best revenge isn't destroying the person who hurt you. Sometimes, the greatest revenge is surviving their betrayal, protecting the people you love, and refusing to become bitter because of what they did. That breakfast wasn't the end of our family. It was the beginning of the truth. Sophia thought I had invited her to breakfast because I was ready to admit defeat. She was wrong. I invited her because sometimes a father has to risk being hated for a moment to protect his child from a lifetime of regret. And that morning, she didn't just discover what her husband had done. She discovered how much her father had sacrificed to protect her.